All aboard your tech and games caboose. So the GTX 1660 was released by Nvidia today, so we have some good reviewers' reviews. So we're going to do some of that and compare. And then there's some Razer, some value pricing options that they added for peripherals. So let's check out that later too. So jumping into the GTX 1660, it's priced at $219. So this is available to order today, and it is 35% faster than the 1063 gig version. It would have been nice to see a comparable 6 gig version percentage, but either way, that's a lot faster. And we're gonna go over some benchmarks numbers right after we check out the specs. So basically the 1660 that came out today is at 1408 CUDA cores versus the TI that came out last month around the 15th for 1536 CUDA cores. The boost clock is a little bit higher for 15 megahertz higher, and the base is 30 megahertz higher as well. And then memory specs, we're dropping down to 4000 at memory speed, and it's GDDR5 memory. So still 192-bit bus, but a little bit less memory bandwidth. And then tech support, all the other similar stuff is pretty much the same. So that's pretty good for the GTX 1660. And then we have Gamers Nexus and Hardware Unboxed. We did some comparison for the numbers. So these are both in Shadow of the Tomb Raider tests, and they did 1080p, and then even Gamers Nexus did some overclocking. And then we have some side by side, but let's check out a little bit of their content. So Hardware Unboxed did a bunch of different game testing, and then Gamers Nexus did a couple even more in-depth testing, and they're both going to do some more testing. They were doing a couple different other things going on, but pretty cool stuff. So basically what we're seeing here is the GTX 1660 is on the left in each 3 of the columns versus let's start off with the 1060. So in Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Hardware Unboxed was using the MSI Gaming X card, which is a two fan card, versus Gamers Nexus used the EVGA XC Ultra, which is also 2 fans. So basically what we're seeing is with the 1660 has a 76 FPS average versus 55, so that's a 21% increase over the 1060 6 gig version. So a little bit less than the 35% compared to the 3 gig version from Nvidia's numbers. But we also get to see Gamers Nexus with similar results, about a 19% increase over the 1060. And then overclock, we see at 29% with Gamers Nexus benchmarks. So basically, let's zoom this in a little bit if we can. 1, 2, 3, there we go. And then we get to see the 1660 versus the 1660 Ti, a lot of 16s going on in 6. But basically what we're seeing here is a 13% increase for the 1660. So this is a decrease from the 1660 to the 1660 Ti, down 13%. So we're seeing 76 to 87, and again 13% from Gamers Nexus. So similar results, pretty good there. And then overclocking, we see a 3% decrease from Gamers Nexus. So he found that the overclocking on the dual fan cards were pretty good, and they are somehow comparable to the 1660 Ti, which is quite a bit better spec-wise. He's also going to be doing some extra testing just to do some more verification and everything, because some of the Apex stuff got some updates through drivers and such. So we'll see a lot more videos from them about this 1660. It's a pretty mid-budget oriented card for a lot of gamers are going to be liking these 2 cards. So pretty good there. And lastly, just the last reference is the 1660 versus the 2060. So this is the RTX card with ray tracing, and this is obviously even better in performance, but 76 versus 96, so that's a 21% decrease in FPS basically. And then Gamers Nexus saw about 25%, so a little bit more. And then overclocked for the 1660 versus the 26, also overclocked, we saw 85 to 107 FPS. So some pretty crazy interesting numbers for a $220 graphics card is pretty good versus the RTX, which is $350 MSRP, which we'll go over some actual pricing and how you can get it for $198, which isn't too difficult. And then also with some extra overclocking information, AnandTech did some overclocking themselves. They did about 100 megahertz on the overclocking GPU, the core, and then I don't see what they did for the memory, but it was shooting around the 1900 megahertz mid-range. So they saw a little bit of an improvement there, getting close to the 1660 Ti stock, not overclocked. So pretty interesting to see at 1440p, a little bit different results there, so pretty good. And I guess that leads us into some actual pricing. So on EVGA, you can actually get a $10 mail-in rebate, which makes the card $10 less than the MSRP of 2019, $220. So that's $10. And then you can get another 5% off if you have a friend who is an EVGA associate. So you can use even, I guess, Jacob's code you could potentially use, and then you'll get 5% off from EVGA.com. So that takes it down $11.50 plus the $10 rebate. So technically you're looking at $198 2016-60. So that is a pretty good deal. And then there's other deal with the 2-fan version, and that is $250. I think there's a $10 instant rebate. We're not sure how long these are going to go on, plus the $10 mail-in rebate. So you're looking at $230, and then the 5% off code as well. So pretty low price, pretty crazy there for the GTX 1660 new graphics card. So we also have one other little bit of tech news we can go over. Not too many games, some other game stuff going on, but we get to see 3 Razer peripherals, so with some more budget-oriented pricing. So the Black Widow gets another keyboard, and it is $120 versus the $170 Elite version. And the differences that you will be changing out are the options of the orange and yellow mechanical switches. So you're just looking at the green mechanical switches. If you like Razer green, then you're going to be liking these keys. So pretty good there. And then some other little small changes. Plush leatherette wrist rest. It looks like that won't be on there. And so you'll be saving $50 if you don't use a wrist rest, which I don't. Why do you? It could be pretty helpful, but that's beside the point. And then the second one is the Kraken headset. So this is still both $80 versus the Pro V2 version, but they're changing some of the materials and upgrading a little bit of the microphone. So you're going to get a gel-infused ear cup versus the regular leatherette ear cups. It looks like pointing out some more padding, or also the gel infused inside the headrest, so a little bit more comfort. And then they're also doing some improved ambient noise reduction for the microphone. So a couple cool changes there, but the two differences there, but both $80. And lastly, they have the Razer Basilisk Essential, which is $50. So $20 off of the regular Razer Basilisk Black version. So $20 cheaper. What the differences here are going to be is the sensor. You're going to drop down from the 5G, the 1600 DPI to the 6400 DPI optical sensor. And then also a little bit of a difference is 7 customizable buttons versus, it looks like, I wanted to say 8, somewhere it mentions 8 independent programmable buttons. So not too much of a difference there if you're not using all those buttons anyways. $20, pretty budget oriented. Razer's known for gaming stuff, but a little bit on the higher end pricing. So it's good to see that they're doing a little bit of competing with the other cheaper brands. So less expensive stuff. So pretty good there for tech news today, the GTX 1660 and some Razer stuff going on for some good deals. And we will have another episode tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific, and possibly some Model Y from Tesla might get announced tonight, so we might do an extra episode for that. And if you can spot a little bit of a difference in today's video versus yesterday's video, you'll get 1 TechCaboose point. So pretty cool there if you can spot that difference. But we'll be signing out. Pew 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 pew.